What's going on, YouTube? I got something special for you today. This is the Redcat Landslide XTE, and I just got done installing the M2C Racing tester chassis for it. So, I'm looking forward to showing it. I'm looking forward to getting out and testing this chassis, and this is just something that I've wanted for a long time. Oh, lost my light. Anyway, I wanted it for a long time, pretty much just to make this truck a little bit more durable. It was an awesome truck for the selling point. For the price point it comes in as $300 retail price. $340 I sell it with two LiPo 5250C batteries, and I mean you can't find a better truck in my opinion for that price range. Basically sub 300 when you factor the bundle. So for a 4S 1/8 scale, it's not flawless. The main issue right now, though, hopefully is being addressed, and there are some other things we're looking for in the meantime as well. Some things that I've talked about to Mitch, some things he gave me. One of the things we'll go over as well, being the ESC plate. But either way, this truck, for what it is, it's always been great, and now it has a chance to even be greater with Mitch and M2C Racing's help and what they're doing with this. So these things will not be ready for production easily until I would estimate sometime mid-March. So there's really the testing process that has to go, and then some of the other layout and other pieces and other possibilities that we might be able to do with it that we're still looking and talking about. And Mitch has got some ideas that he wants to try out, and so we're just going to see where it ends. But it's all going to be good no matter what. If you're a Redcat fan, if you're a Landslide fan, if you don't know about them, M2C Racing is now got their hands on some Redcat stuff, so that can only be a good thing for us. And this truck only really had the one glaring issue, so I'm hoping that takes care of this. And if we need to get a brace system, which this truck lacked as well, we'll figure that out. But I'm hoping to do my part, and that is to beat this thing up pretty good and see if I can't find any flaws or anything in the chassis. I wanted to pop this in the beginning of the video as well for the guys that might tune in just to see wow, M2C Racing's got a Landslide chassis. When's it coming out? Is it ready now? Just make sure that anybody doesn't tune into the video where I might talk about it over the time gets the information right now, and that is, like I said, not going to be ready yet for production until sometime next month. The materials are not even going to be in for it until sometime next month, because everything that's getting ran right now is going to be focused on ARMA. So this setup right here is already done. I'll give you a quick peek at the chassis, quick layout, and then I'm going to go ahead and get to the build. For any guys that are a little intimidated of how to drop everything and put it back together, just want to show how easy it was. It was actually even easier to me than the ARMA, but that's also because I didn't have to put the center stuff in, all at one point at the same time. I was able to play around with that, and I wasn't so focused on the center, and I redid some stuff, so it just looked a little cleaner, felt a little cleaner putting it back together. But again, it's only 7 screws to drop the front, and I think 9 or 12 on the or drop the rear, and then 9 or 12 on the front. So it's a very simplified truck. Here's a quick peek at it. If you want to see how I got to where I got, you're more than welcome to tune in. And there's the bottom of it. Now here's the old chassis. Mine was a little weathered, but no more. Completely, they took the bends out of it, which were made and designed, I guess, to help strengthen it, but clearly didn't. So I'll show you how this one looked when I took it off as well, and the condition it was in, because my body definitely didn't fit right, which is no longer an issue. Alright, I just want to give you guys a peek at this, and if you guys want to tune in, like I said, for the video, you'll see the ESC plate that he sent me that fits this truck, that holds the Max 8 or Hex 8. What I did to my ESC box that allowed me to still use my servo mounted there and give me a platform for my electronics for now until we can get a box. Alright, so tune in if you're interested. There's some things that are being worked on right now. This is a test chassis from M2C Racing, so it's designed for me to take it and just try to beat the hell out of it and do what I did. That caused me to bend my chassis 3 times, which I may have a 4th going on right now, which will be a perfect time to show you. So you notice, you see how easy that popped up. I went to go put the body back on, and when you put your body posts in the front and line up, you know, with your stock body, so I'm on in the front. Now to get the back to go, I literally have to grab the body post, pull them back, and make them go in. So that is telling me that my chassis has connected a little bit. Came closer. So again, with these drive cups being in here and being so durable, that's going to cause me to probably shear my drive cup in the rear or maybe at the center diff. And I don't want to do that. Like I said, I want to get the most out of what I did with these. This is an outcast shaft. I have the front and the rear, and I had to bore out the inside. You guys that follow me and things have seen this truck, and when I took it off the ramps one of them times and landed, that's what I sheared. I sheared the bored out drive shaft cup. So I'm working to try to find larger ones that will fit these housings, but right now I haven't found anything that actually fits the diff. And some of the other diffs that do fit these housings are a little bit too big and don't fit the truck. So, you know, I'm still playing with that. I'll keep going because that's what I like to do, and I want to rebuild my truck and strengthen it. But if these give me any more problems, I'm going to pull these out myself, hope that the chassis fixes the main issue, and then I'm going to go back and put the stock stuff all back in, unless Mitch comes up with some drive shafts and some stuff to fit this thing stock, which would be really nice. But you know, we've dabbled, we've talked about some stuff here. This is something that, after working with the Arma stuff with the tester group and stuff, you guys have seen the video for that with the motor mount and things that they're working on. You know, it's a great setup. I had that thing out. It holds the motor really tight, which I love. There's no flex, which is something that we're talking about for this thing as well. And when I show you the motor plate on this, for guys that haven't really taken the time to look at it and explain a couple things, I'll talk to you about what the importance of having a thicker motor mount is, and kind of the things that I've noticed just off this truck from having that thin plate. So this thing's ready to get installed. I'm going to pop this off, and we're going to go ahead and fast forward probably through most of the dropping. I'm just dropping off the screws, which is like 7 in the rear, 8 or 9 in the front. And I've pretty much got the center already disassembled from some diff testings and things that we were doing, trying to fit the larger diff cups in. So this is my setup right now. And what I asked Mitch to do is if he could send me, we were talking about different ways to mount the ESC, and I told him this box was an issue. It has been for me. I don't know if it is for other guys, but I'm just not a fan of it. So we're trying to talk about possibly getting us a waterproof receiver box on this thing somewhere, somehow. Again, that's all in the works, so you know, please don't message Mitch or anybody and get anybody going. This is all conversation talk right now, and ideas and prototypes. So nothing's fine-tuned, just like this here. This may be what we come up with for this side, or it may not, but for right now it fits this truck, and I just have to trim off a little bit for my battery mount to fit. But it's going to take care of my issue. Again, any of my followers that seen, I snapped this cover. The screw came off, the clips broke, so this whole thing came off on me, landing upside down on the ramps, or coming off the ramps, and the ESC basically just was flopping around. I would get it unplugged, constantly come unplugged on me. So having it secure is a big deal for me, and I appreciate Mitch for sending me this, which is going to help me get back to running and getting to bashing with this now. And also we'll see if it's a good design and it holds up, and if the placement's right for it. Because right there. So if you look at this thing here, there's more material showing than there is up here, which makes me think that this flex, oh, look at that, it's got 3 screws in here, and this screw's gone. So I bet you this probably pulled through, it probably flexed and pulled that screw out just enough to break the threads, and the screw probably rattled out with vibration. So yeah, I mean, no wonder I probably did that early on, and that's probably why the pinion that I have on there's only lasted about 4 runs, and it's all chewed up. But I bet you that's exactly what that's about. Huh. Alright, well, we'll get a screw back in that for temporary purposes, but this is one of the things that I'm hoping to have replaced as well, and looking at different ways to do this, and you know, see if we need a bracing system to be in the mix as well. So this is what this is all about, you know, getting this thing on here, seeing the layout, and then seeing if it needs any more brace support, and if we can actually put it on there with the motor sitting in the middle of the truck like this, it kind of kills it, and there's really no place back here to mount it to. So again, we'll see. But this here can be strengthened up for sure. This design is not the best, and this little plate in here just can't handle the heavier motors. So once you start upgrading, we should upgrade this too. So anybody looking at this, this might be an upgrade you want if you're going to go with a heavier motor. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do as I said. I'm going to get this thing flipped over, and I'll get all the screws off of it, and we will go from there. Alright. So I had this on here just so the wires didn't flop around. So I forgot all about this being in here still. This is the stock 15 kg, and this has been in my truck since day one. This is the one that slammed the post. This is the one that's, you know, anything I've done to this truck on camera and plus off camera, this has been in. So I mean, it's a very solid servo, you know, considering for the money it is. A lot of people, you know, don't like them. They don't think they're slow and all, and they usually upgrade them. I'm the type of person who usually upgrades them anyway, but it's been a workhorse, man. I mean, for what I put this thing through, I'm very shocked that when I opened this up and realized that I still had the stock one in there, I thought I had already upgraded it, and then I found the one I was going to use laying off to the side, and I remembered that I never did. So, all right, so we're ready now to put the front onto the new chassis. Alright, stock chassis is coming in at 13.6 ounces. And we got 1.05. So, you know, that's not bad. 2.9 ounces for, you know, a 0.5 millimeter thickness and better material. Like I was saying, I can see. Let's see if we can find the chassis bend. So, looking at my rear, you can see it's bent up. It's flat, all this is flat. And then my front is even lifted up just a little bit. So, that's right there, the difference of why my body posts are, you know, about 1/4 inch off. But yeah, this is definitely, and this one's been bent and rebent a few different times. I mean, you can, this is still original chassis. I can actually see, you can kind of see it right there, I think. This flex, looks like it flexed right here as well. And I think I had a tough time getting one of these screws out, and it kind of came out almost like it was bent. So I'm betting I bent this as well. So I'll put a different screw in there. I'll check that, make sure it swivels and all that before I do anything, which I'm probably going to do here in a minute. But that's the chassis. You know, I beat it up pretty good for what it was. And just, you know, it wasn't too hard to straighten out. It wasn't, you know, a complete pain in the ass. And for the truck, I loved driving the truck. It was worth it, but no more. See, and I'm going to show you, I can, I can't do it because I can't get the leverage without like literally getting in front, but, you know, and pushing it down. I don't want to push on the table, but I can bend this whole top end right now. I just felt it move. But I just can't do it. There we go. See, I just bent that just by, you know, pulling on it and flexing it, basically like this. So M2C one. All right. I don't know if it moved or not. I don't think it did. No, still seeing the same gap. So, I mean, again, I just knew I'd straighten this thing out, and you can tell, you know, it's not too hard to bend that. And if I can bend it just by putting some force on it with my wrist and all, you know, it's definitely going to land in, with the weight of the truck and everything else. So this should be the fix here. But if it's not, we'll keep going and get it till it's right. You can see my drive cup in there, kind of how I bored it out a little bit to make that outcast shaft fit right in there. Because that head's just a little fat. You see how flat and round that thing is, but it fits. Just had to compromise a little bit of the sidewall. Hopefully, like I said, this won't be an issue, and you know, doing something like this won't be needed. Or we can find upgrades for the cups and fix it all. So put this screw in first when you're doing this, and it will keep. There's a little triangular thing here that fits onto the diff bottom. So you line that up, kind of snaps into place. It is there. Put my T-bone down. I'm going to put that screw there to help hold it and take the pressure off of it so I can easily put the other screws in. Now from here, I think I'm going to, especially if you guys are doing this stock, we want to put our shafts in and things like that for right now, because what's going to happen is you want to build the truck from front to rear for the most part, because sometimes when you put the motor mount and stuff like that in, especially right now with me, you know, I've limited some of my drive shaft movement by putting a fatter shaft in. Actually, nah, I got movement. But these, like I said, this box, you actually have to, it slides over this. You almost have to put this in because you're never going to get the drive cup in, especially not with my fat one. So you want to put this in first. If you got your ESC box, put that on next. Then do your this first diff part, put the center diff in, then put the back part on, get that mounted, and then you can, you know, put the rear on at that point, because then you can slide it on. And as soon as you mount it, you line everything up, slide it on, put your screw in, and then kind of tighten it from there. But like I said, you want to work your way from the front to back or back to front. That way you don't have any issues with getting the drive shaft out. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take my Dremel, and I'm going to cut this off and try to maybe even make a platform here. And then I can take my screws off here and probably mount this waterproof armor box right to the top of this plastic, and then just have my servo. This is kind of what I was mentioning to Mitch, having a raised up platform. That's almost exactly the design I would want. Obviously something a little bit better material, but you get something like this and you can make a receiver box that is literally just like this, straight up, and that's your receiver box that mounts. I mean, that's it. That's all we need. And the ESC plate on the other side, and we got a great fix. But, all right, so I am back at it, and this is what I did. So I removed, where is it? That's the top. I think I did something with my bottom. Oh, you know, it's down, it's by my vise. But basically, I just cut the lip all the way around. Left myself where this was a, you know, it was a bridge basically, instead of just cutting the nubbles off, because I want to be able to put my receiver up here for now until we can come up with some other kind of design. I've tried a couple of different things, and the box I was going to put on here is going to hit the drive shaft, so I would have to raise it up and do some other stuff, and there's really no place to drill into this. So for now, I'm going to run it with just the receiver on top open. I'm not really worried about the receiver. It's still my stock remote, so I've never moved it over to one of my other remotes yet anyway, so maybe that'll speed up that process. But this is ready to go now, and I got my ESC mounted. This is the Hex 8, and I have it mounted, the same thing as a Max 8, mounted to the plate that I got. There we go. Everything in its place and secure for a change for me, because that's been a big thing for me, was having it all secure and tight in there. Again, this is all temporary and it should work out better than it was before for me. Got these adhesives down to that plate. The antenna I'm going to work with for now. I'm probably just going to kind of fold it over into itself and clip it like this, just so it loops and stays up. Yeah, I don't want it to get caught in the drive shaft or flip out of the truck or anything like that, so I'll do something with that for temporary. This is already set and should be exactly where it was. My connectors can reach for now, which eventually will get XT 150s. What else? Everything's in its place. I'm not going to attach a servo horn until I get power to it because I got to center everything. I'm going to continue on back and finishing hooking everything up, but right now I got some wire management I got to figure out. I'll probably just zip tie these two together. I got them lifted and elevated like this because this drive shaft is in the center here and this drive cup's right here, and that's all I don't want is for this to come over here and get caught into that drive cup and rip my wires. So I'm going to make sure that this stuff leans this way, and then probably do something like that and just keep it hovering in this area right now, and it should keep it nice and tight. So I'll play around with that. I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but let me get this thing back together, and then I'll focus on that. I'm going to get this motor mounted real quick first before I continue, because once I do that and put the rear on, it's not going to be so easy for me to pull this piece out and get it adjusted with that drive shaft running through it. So I'm going to pause it again. Alright, so after a little playing around, because you always got to do that unless you know exactly what you're doing, so I'll help you guys out. If you're doing this and you have a 15 tooth pinion, this top hole on the left hand side I believe is the odd and this is even. So this is, I don't know why I'm down here on the bottom for the 15. I think when you put it over here, it might not be odd and even. Some of them work that way, but the first stock screw is in there, and I think they're kind of in the middle. So with the 15, you raise it up higher over here, and then you go down a hole here. Now, the next up is, I think, just raising this one here, and then this one, and the fullest is both of them at the top. So don't hold me to that, but if you're running a 15, it's just the opposite angles right now. Left, top, bottom, right. And I've got a perfect gear mesh right now. Got my rear trimmed back here. Now I went back to a 15 tooth, which is why I had to change up things, but I got this shaved pretty much identical so that my motor sits at a level plane. Alright, for now, for wire management, with my leads being up here and so long, my batteries, I run them this way, and I'll just run the wires up to here and plug them in. And keeping this up here just keeps all these wires from back here flopping. I could take this and lay it this way and run the batteries this way. And I may do that depending on, now that the ESC is in a little bit different position, I might not need to have it. But I'll probably wait and I'll figure that out for whatever the final layout of whatever we do is. So I'll probably just keep this more for my testing purposes, because that way my wire's not flopping around, because I plan on trying to bang this thing up pretty good and trying to get it in the air. So for right now, I don't want the wires flopping. I got these zip tied together, and then I have them individual. So worst case, they'll pull out from the receiver, which is probably pretty strong. I don't see it doing so, but my wires are away from my shaft. They're up here. It's not going to come over here and get in the way. Real quick, as I'm going, for T-bones, people want us to know where I get my wheelie bar at and all. The T-bone for the rear TM10 almost fits identical. The only thing you're going to need to do is add these two holes and countersink them. You can see this is one that I took from a Terramoto 10 without getting the blank. But I started drilling wrong there, but this one works, and I beat the hell out of this thing. It still holds up, even with the screws not perfectly. But that is the layout. The rear one is almost identical. The front one is not. The front one, the diff seems like it's a little wider in certain areas, so you have to bore it out. And I don't recommend doing that. And again, if I get another crack at it and, expecting this to break and give me problems, but you can see this one here, I have way too much bored out. because I couldn't find it. That was the first hole I did. This one I nailed it a little bit better, and then the other ones I was able to get. It's going to be good for now. It's going to be good for testing, and then when I go to do the final setup and whatever we do, I'll probably get some blanks for the Terremoto 10 and redo my own, using that as a guide. The fronts, you just have to move the hole in, so you basically replicate these 3 holes, but in closer to the chassis, right? You know, basically here, here, and here. Alright, so the trick is to do this with the drive shaft in the hole, resting as gently as you can, and then try to do this and fit it. So now I got to turn the cup. My shaft is in, so as long as I don't let it come back apart too far, that won't be a problem. So we'll try to get this screw in here, the one I was telling you about in the middle that holds that pivot part. We'll try to get that screw in to help hold all this in place. Alright, so much easier once in place. Just double check your drive shaft's in place, because I've done this and got back together and realized it fell out. And then make sure you're lined up in your little diamond in here, and all your stuff is lined up there, which means you're going to go back together pretty much like factory. Everything laid out here, so let's get a look at everything the way I got it. Probably go grab some batteries real quick also, and just align my servo while I'm at it. I got the batteries ready. I just need the remote. Okay. I'm gonna take my cover off and clean in there. That my ESC's got some hay looking stuff in there at the bottom of it. So I'm going to get in there and get that out eventually, but we'll do that later. Alright, back to my servo. It's a little quieter now that I at least got that grass out of there. Alright, I got it on now. Now I'm going to have to remove my battery to get to that little grub screw real quick. Turn it like that. There we go, back on. Works for me. Alright, got my... I don't need to set any throttle parameters or anything, because all this electronics are the same. It's just, I was just making sure that I had the motor wires back right. And if they were backwards, I would just switch the outside 2 wires. So everything seems good. I'm probably going to put some, because you can even see here, just from me playing with this stuff, these are coming apart, so I might put some shrink wrap on them just so they don't separate while I'm driving, because you know, this wire bundle here is going to flop around and there's not really much I can do about it. Alright, so here we got it, guys. Everything's got a place, man. I love it. You know, it's so much better than that ESC box that, you know, I couldn't fit my ESC in, and you know, had to rig it and it kept breaking on me, or pull out, unplug while I was driving. Just hassles and little things that were headaches that didn't really need to be headaches, that took away from me riding. So, I mean, I can see just from me moving this wire, the heat shrink will have to be on these to hold them together. But the ESC is mounted down to the chassis. It's mounted down to the plate. It fits exactly perfect. It fits the larger ESC without any problem. The piece I made for the servo does exactly what it needs to do, but eventually I will want to enclose the receiver a little bit and get some of this wire cleaned up. You know, I like a receiver box that has enough that I can kind of at least get the wire in there as well and just give it a little cleaner look. But other than that, it's ready to roll. And I'm just going to give you guys an overview on the bottom of the chassis, show you maybe a comparison to the overlay of the other one laying on top of it, and then we'll go ahead and throw the body on and make sure that the issue I was having with the old chassis is now gone and resolved, which is a clear sign that, you know, your chassis is bent when your body doesn't fit. So that's good barometer. Also, I'll be able to tell if I run into that problem now with this chassis. At least I'll know that that's probably what happened, which I doubt, but we'll see. So it's an identical chassis. The only thing I know different is that the sides are bent up a little bit more on this one. Sorry, I just lost my flash. But that hasn't changed anything. I like that better, because the way I mount my batteries, this used to tilt up, and the screws, the nuts that go in here would hit the bottom of my batteries, and I didn't like that. So you can actually see my body is kind of raised up now, which I do like. Or the batteries are raised up. So there she is. It's a beaut. And it should be the answer to all the issues with this truck. Alright. Oops. It's hard to do this with one hand. Oh, it slid right in the back. One in front and back. It went right on. Like it should. Nice. Alright, well, that's all I got, guys, man. This is the chassis. We got more things to come, you know, testing-wise, before this thing's ready to go for production. Just got to make sure it holds up and it makes the difference that it needs to, which I really don't have a doubt that it will. Is it going to be flawless? I can't say that, but that's what we're going to try to find out. And if it's not, you know, we'll work on something, maybe a different chassis brace or something. Mitch has got a lot of good ideas as well, and we've talked about a couple different things that we thought might help with this truck. So it's all good things, all positive. Just going to make the truck a beast, hopefully, by the time it's all said and done. And M2C's been doing this stuff with the Technos, and they've just gotten to the Armas. And, I mean, they're a high quality company. This is definitely a good quality product. Everything fits like it should. And the additions that we're going to be able to do now that we have a truck like this in their hands is going to it's just going to be a good thing for Landslide owners and for RC in general, because this is literally one of the best trucks on the market, in my opinion, for the $300 range. I mean, $340 ready to run with 2 batteries is what I sell them for, and that's really hard to beat for what's on the market and for what this truck can do. I mean, a simple 4S motor swap to a little bit higher kV was able for me to put a motor in this truck and have it run and feel like it's faster, and maybe even running on 6S compared to some of the other vehicles I've driven. So obviously 6S is insane on this truck, which I've done. It's just I don't think it's good for the drivetrain and will hold out too long. So this setup for me is a better setup, and for what this truck is, even with the stock motor, running about 40 miles an hour, up gear the pinning 15 tooth, you're looking almost 50 miles an hour on 4S. It's a solid little truck, man, and M2C Racing just made this a little bit better for us. So it's awesome, and I can't wait to get this thing out. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching.